All right. Let's do this. Let's try and get class over with so I can go home.
Just take a quiz and end.
Yeah.
Huh?
You could just take the quiz and end it. Yeah. Call it good.
Yeah.
Watch a movie.
Let's watch Dr. Strangelove.
You guys have a horrible attitude.
Well, it sounds like you wanted to leave.
I pride myself out of bed.
We're looking out for your best interest.
I appreciate it. Oh, which reminds me, does anyone here have a secret fascination with Jewish mysticism?
Always.
I'm gonna say no.
Are you into mysticism? Because it's not always the same thing as it turned out. Oh, well, if we had a lot of people that were into Jewish mysticism, I was going to cancel class next week. So you could go to a talk. But if you're not into it, then the talk will be, you know. I mean, I know it's hard to believe that maybe something could be more boring than me, but.
What's the talk? Where is it?
It's in the art museum.
I want to go. But maybe we should make a field trip.
Oh, I have to go. We're going to have a substitute.
Why do you
So class
like
could
all
be
the same
optional for those who go to the mysticism thing?
Yeah, if you want to go to the mysticism thing, you can miss out on the substitute. But I hear she's a lot of fun.
Who is it?
I don't know.
Oh.
So will we have a quiz next class then? Even with us up?
Yeah, I'm leaning toward having just that because I don't want because the thing is we have to get a quiz on the reading for it, and it seems like doubling up on a quiz would suck. Last time we doubled up on a quiz, we didn't do so well. So since she doesn't know who you are, you could probably just take the quiz and leave. I mean, I'm not going to test her on anything that she teaches. I'm setting her up for a. But it's good. So you know who I am. All right. Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Number 122. What is Desdemona preparing her wedding sheets for? Is it like because she thinks she's gonna have sex? Is it because she thinks she's like fearing danger? She knows she's gonna die in them.
What do you think?
I think it could be all of the above. Well, probably not the thinking she's gonna have sex thing. I think it's either like she fears danger and like knows something bad's gonna happen, or like she knows she's gonna die.
Yeah, I think that that's my feelings about it. Yes, ma'am.
why is the horned man a monster animals?
Anyone? Why is the horned man a monster and a beast? Abe?
He's motivated by fury. It's like his drive is all kind of anger.
Yes. But what's a horned man?
Cuckold.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm sure we all knew that. Did anybody not know what a cuckold was before this class? Does anyone still not know? All right, good. We learned something. Yeah.
Number 7, what's his evidence that she's a subtle whore?
Yeah, how does so this is a weird scene, and hopefully we'll get to it a little bit today. So the scene is that Amelia is vouching for Desdemona, and then Othello's like, oh no, that can't be, and then she leaves, and then he says, well, she's a subtle whore. I've seen her pray, and that's his evidence. That's his evidence to not trust her judgment. So why does her praying make her a subtle whore?
She doesn't pray for forgiveness for what she's done.
Yeah, but how does he know what she's done?
He's assuming. He's assuming.
Or is
That's
he?
why she's
Because remember what Iago, remember Iago's one of his apparently self-deceiving motivations for hating Othello was that Othello slept with his wife. Does that mean that Othello did sleep with her? If he knows that she's a subtle whore and could see her pray and knew she was a hypocrite? I don't know. Maybe. So the answer to the question is I don't know. Yeah.
Is that why he said that OOO line? Because didn't they point out something about Amelia sleeping with Othello?
Yeah, so he does the OOO. Does anyone remember when he does the OOO?
It's like when Amelia's kind of like chewing out Iago.
Yeah, it's like right when the truth's about to come out. It's a weird play. Yes, sir.
Desdemona swears that her will and her eyes, ears, or senses did not betray Othello. Is that everything?
Anyone want to do something with that? I need to put my glasses on. I'm an optimist. I just have a whole sea full of supermodels in bikinis. There we go. Anyone want to field that one?
What was the question again?
Desdemona swears that her will and her eyes, ears, or senses did not betray Othello. Is that everything?
Not her heart.
Yeah, I guess that's not everything. So she doesn't say her heart. She doesn't say other things.
What, like her genitals?
She does not specify her genitals. I don't know. We have a whole class on Desdemona. We'll get to the bottom of her. She's an interesting thing. Yes.
Why shouldn't Desdemona feel fear? Why does she?
Yeah. This is according to her. Yeah.
Was it because she shouldn't feel fear because she was innocent, she didn't do anything wrong, but he had like a look in his face that made her think she was gonna die?
Yeah. So I remember Lady Macduff was in a similar situation. In fact, that's probably Lady Macduff was probably alluding to. Yes, ma'am.
What two things are the Willow song associated with? I put death and adultery.
Yes. Do I see a hand in the back? Yeah.
What, an adultery?
Death. Yeah.
Why does Desdemona refuse to name Othello?
I just think she still loves him.
That'll work. Anyone want to? I'm sure this will come up in class. I'll accept because she still loves him. I won't accept because she's afraid he'll kill her. That's weird. That's normally when you strangle someone, they don't mysteriously awaken a few minutes afterwards for some final words, and then. I mean, I don't know personally. Uh-oh. All right. In general, because I'm going to forget, and I didn't do the same kind of task, but in general, we're not doing a real super duper good job on the situation part of the passage identifications. And that's the one where you should, nobody should ever get that wrong, because all you need to do is put something plausible and I'll give you points for it. So even if you have no idea who the speaker is or the situation, make it make sense. Then I know that you read the play, and then I can give you that point. And it makes me feel better. If nothing else, we're getting an uncanny sense of what reading questions are going to be on the exam or the quizzes. You notice that?
What?
That we're doing a really good job of guessing the questions that are going to be on the exam. Yeah. Just really? What am I posting the quizzes instead of the reading questions? That would help. Okay, so the nobody, I myself. What did Brabantio die from? Iago's last words.
I just I'll never speak a word.
What is a horned man? Why is he a monster? What does Othello suggest he will do with Desdemona after he kills her?
Make love to her.
Yeah. Or just love her. I'll kill you, then I'll kill her, then I'll love her. So, I don't know. I thought it was weird. I guess you kids are zanier than I am. According to Amelia, why do women, quote, fail? Yeah, because they're bad husbands. All right. Why does Othello think Amelia is a subtle whore?
Because she prays like an honest
And
woman.
what is the significance of the Willow Song? Marvelous. All right. So I did not finish on Iago, so we've got to go back to this old chestnut. So we got so as we were arguing with the, I'll always call it the hypothesis from yesterday, or not yesterday, whatever that day was. And then so this was sort of a problem. I don't know which is conscious and which is unconscious, but one of them is wants to inflame / exploit human irrationality and wants to believe humans are capable of subduing passions with reason. And his relationship with knowledge was makes it up. And the problem, as with everybody, incompatible desires, bad handwriting. Okay. And then we had some ideas for the solution, but since I have a blank line here, I imagined that I had something in mind when I was writing this. And sorry, you'll have to bear with me, as I'm sure that you can't tell. I'm not 100% here. So we're on page 27, and we've just finished seeing Iago appeal to the best and worst in Rodrigo. So down on line 375 or 374, Iago says, Thus do I ever
make my fool my curse, for I mine own gained knowledge should profane, if I would time extend with such snipe, for my sport and profit. I hate the more, and it is thought abroad that twixt my sheets has done my office. I know not it to be true, but I, for mere suspicion in that kind, will do as if for a surety. He holds me well, the better shall my purpose work on him. Cassio's a proper man. Let me see now, to get his place, and to plume up my will in double knavery. How? How? Let's see. After some time to abuse Othello's ears that he is too familiar with his wife, he had the person and is smooth disposed to be suspected, framed, to make woman false. The more is of a free and open nature that thinks men honest, that but seem to be so, and will as tenderly be led by the nose as asses are. I have it. It is engendered. Hell and night must bring this monster's birth to the world's light.
Thank you. So, sort of reminds us, of course, of Prince Hal, off to the side. This is my real plan. So we get this is my real plan thing from Iago. So it kind of ruins the suspense of the play, right? He's spoon-feeding us the plot. Why do you think it's in here? I mean, does it help anybody? Did anybody not think that that's what Iago was up to, basically? No? I don't know. So, why is it here? Does anyone want to field a guess? Haphazard guess? Get some cheap participation points on a day I won't remember. Oh, I have, because when I have questions, I always have answers just in case you guys don't answer. And sometimes even if you do. I said it keeps us oriented to plot and character. But do we learn anything new? Do we? Well, we learned the cuckold subplot, or reason number 2 for hating Othello. And but what happened to reason number 1? What was reason number 1 again?
Emotions of passive.
Yeah. So he doesn't mention that. He seems to have forgotten. Is that weird? Yeah. And then he says, I don't know if it says, I know not if it be true, if he has done my office. He's sure got he's like an anti-poet, he's just somebody that can take the beautiful act of lovemaking and just make it look just, raunch. But, an anti-poet, I like that. And it does seem weird that for all the reasons we've discussed on the day that we won't talk about, that he wants to believe that he's been cuckolded, because it's weird that somebody who doesn't know if it's true, doesn't really seem to believe it, kind of starts talking himself into it, right? So maybe that's a little bit weird. No? And not at this point. At this point, we're just like, man, you know what, man? Okay. Why does he want to believe he's a cuckold? It's not that hard. Yeah.
I think because it gives him more just motivation for what he's going to do.
Right. Right. So he's explicitly deploying the confirmation bias that we talked about in the wrong direction, and then we know with the or I hinted at, I guess knowing is a strong way of putting it, that the same neurocircuitry and a lot of the same chemicals in the brain, in males in particular, for aggression and sexual arousal are the same for whatever reason. So he's getting himself aroused to arouse his anger. All right. Maybe victim's discourse a little bit. Remember victim's discourse? Maybe a little of that too. Yeah, it's a little bit interesting because he really only uses it on himself, but it does seem to be there. So and then like we were saying, like Lady Macbeth, he's trying to work himself up and trick his emotions into overriding his true nature, rational will, and what he knows already to be true. So remember, Lady Macbeth knew that she didn't have a case, knew she couldn't do it, but really tries to ramp herself up so she can overcome that. Maybe it wasn't the shirt, maybe it's this jacket. It's the weird sleeve thing. Okay. So I submit here that what we have here is a man with a good sound logic that's not that different from a good fundamentalist Christian. So to me, like a good fundamentalist Christian really wants us all to be, noble, kind, wise, and really would like to usher in the kingdom of God and everybody be on board, right? But if not, what are we willing to settle for? To help set off the apocalypse and joyfully watch everyone that disagrees burn in our own hellfire, right? It makes sense. It's like it does. But either way, that way, if it turns out, his two things, either way it turns out, at least he was right? So the difference is that Iago's not worried about God per se. He wants to believe in man, or at least the kind of mankind that's at least capable of not being a slave to stupid, irrational, cruel, self-serving, and easily exploitable passions. But that failing, he wants to be right in doubting it. And then so if he watches man burn once and for all, it'll be that same kind of joy that one would get watching the apocalypse. Yeah.
I'm not sure, you might have just answered it, but I was just thinking, if he is just wanting to cause chaos, then why does he even care about justifying it to himself? Why does he care about feeling like, why is he trying to prove himself that what he's doing is right? If he just wants to do, if you know, like, why? Why does he even bother?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and it throws. I think that point, you know, kind of makes it really hard to say, because a lot of people through the ages have just kind of just, you know, Iago is just pure evil.
Because most common antagonists, from their point of view, they think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, we saw this with Lady Macbeth too, right? I mean, this is a problem thing with these evil, villainous Shakespearean characters that they're really not that evil. I mean, they have to work themselves up in that direction. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Iago is like trying to defend himself, choose himself,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like he thinks he's doing the right thing as much as like he's saying, well, you know, it's okay that I'm doing this because of this, rather than I should be doing this.
Well, it's, I mean, but just self-justification. So it's not necessarily that he, you know, like thinks that he's Dudley Do-Right, but you know, it's like the stealing from the video store logic. You know, it's like they're exploiting me. You know, I get a couple of CDs now and then, and you know, like, so when you're stealing CDs, you're not like, gee, I'm Dudley Do-Right, but still you can self-justify your actions, right?
Most people in prison, they feel they would do the same thing. They feel, you know, from their point of view, they didn't do anything wrong.
Absolutely. I mean, has anyone here ever done anything wrong with no justification?
All the time.
With no justification?
I thought that was a socio.
All right, good. Hey,
What about like the Christian you just mentioned? They also have a discourse with themselves that sort of validates their purpose, you know, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, it's just the human.
Yeah, this is a cute thing that we do. We're such adorable little critters. Excellent points. You know what? I'll bet I could just have you guys do a class. And just no. You could, but you wouldn't. So but you did make the point that I had on my next bullet point. So thanks a lot for screwing up my lecture. But I'm starting to think now. So if Iago is really just this guy that would love to believe in human rationality, but he's been studying too much behavioral economics and witnessed too many biases and heuristics in action, and read too much Freud, you know, like been reading too much Shakespeare, and it's just like, you know what, man, I don't know that we're really that kind of thing. You know, I don't know that we're able to control our passions with our reason. I think we might just, you know, be making stuff up as we go along. We might just all just be kind of a bunch of idiots, and just kind of a bunch of self-serving, you know, baboons, as he would put it. And then, I mean, you can see. I mean, none of us believe that, but you can see like how Iago could think that, right? If he'd been reading a lot of Shakespeare plays, you know, he'd been reading a lot of Shakespeare plays. Shakespeare. So I just want to just in passing. I'm not gonna you know put my credentials to this or anything, but I think that Iago is kind of a Shakespearean character, and I think that you know, like Shakespeare was writing some dark stuff now, and I think this was kind of a crisis of the artist being played out in Iago, and it's just, you know, like, I can't have faith in you people, so I'm just gonna do this, and I mean, it's a huge triumph because. Othello, as we'll see, as he starts off, he's just completely unswayable, right? That's what he's known for. He's got all his passions subdued, possibly to the point of impotence. And he's just doesn't get riled up, you know, just very calm. People pull swords on him. And he very calmly is like, oh, Jedi mind tricks. You don't want to pull swords on me. I don't want to pull swords on you.
So do you think he was writing Othello during the time when he was having that like crisis with?
This was a dark period. Well, not with Anne. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if he was talking to Anne at this point. I don't know what's going on with that. But you I'm sure he had something going on. Although, I mean, he couldn't have had that much free time. He's got to write all these plays, act in them, act in other people's plays. I don't know, actors in here, is it easy to, you know, perform like 4 different plays at the same time and write another one?
Not particularly.
Yeah, it would tax me. Yeah, I can't even, so anyway. So I'm thinking that I want to alter this a little bit, and then I think it's self-deceit. So they think the evolutionary psychology people think that we deceive ourselves because it makes us better liars. Because like something that you know, on all of Darwin's creatures. This is a fun thing I like to do now. Just speak in a creationist discourse, but put Darwin in instead of God. So all Darwin's creatures, made in his image, are trying to deceive one another, because that's how Darwin created the universe. By having animals deceive each other, and it starts this arms race, and you've got to and then so human deception is just you know, it's just we've been raised to a cognitive deception, and we can like actually articulate our lies instead of just like, have you guys seen the mimic octopus? Yeah, this is, if you haven't seen a mimic octopus, Google it and watch the video. It's this octopus that turns into like everything, and just swims along, and then all of a sudden it's a sea snake, and then all of a sudden it's a flounder, then all of a sudden it's a stingray, then all of a sudden it's really yeah, like instantly. Yeah, and it looks just like the animal, like a lionfish, a pufferfish. It's just yeah.
Texture and
Yes.
That's
I used to have a pet octopus. Those things are so cool.
Seriously?
Yeah, he would you know, I mean, I hate to anthropomorphize invertebrates, but he loved playing, and so he kind of had it figured out when I'd come home from school, and he'd just be sitting on top of the aquarium, and then go in, and then, you know, I'd feed him and bat him around, and he'd, you know, squirt around and stuff, and then he was nuts. He was so smart. He'd squeeze out of the tank, and then I had a feeder tank with crabs that I fed him, and so he'd crawl along the carpet, go up into the crab tank, nail like 4 crabs, come back, and then go back into his tank.
How do you escape?
Yeah, well, you can't. I mean, you can't keep. I mean, it takes more ingenuity than I have to keep an octopus in a tank. But they're smart enough to know, I guess, apparently. But
How did you get that octopus?
you know, it was. They're actually not that hard to get now, but. You know, I was like everyone else in my generation. I wanted to be an oceanographer when I was a kid, and I had an in at SeaWorld, and I got one from SeaWorld. I kept mine alive longer than SeaWorld kept theirs alive too.
How big was it?
His head was about that big. He was like that big swimming.
I thought it was like this huge thing.
Yeah, like some huge thing. I'd be like, just sitting waiting for you to come home. It's like, yeah, let's play with the octopus. Yeah, no. That went up the ante. Ollie. Well, that was not a digression. No, but so the point is, there's deception in nature, obviously, right? You know, like you've seen, there's offensive deception. There's, you know, like my favorite offensive deception is the deep sea fish that's got the little light, and the fish come up, yeah, anglerfish. And then, you know, like there's stick bugs and stuff. So but so in humans, you know, like we talked about the evolutionary arms race and deception between the sexes, because we've got the conflicting genetic agendas, and then so what evolutionary psychologists / biologists think's going on in humans is that we're better liars if we fool ourselves first. Makes sense, right? So I actually don't know what that has to do. That was not a bullet point. So so the solution, I think we said, do you remember what the solution was for this?
Yeah.
With something else. I mean, that's the solution for everything, but.
Also said
Stop
there's a
lying.
Yeah, it says stop lying too.
Stop lying. How about expose himself? Did we say something about that?
Not just get over it.
Get over it.
Or someone can prove his conscious desire wrong.
Yeah, wants to be wrong. Okay. But if he exposed himself, which is part of the hypothesis, then that would be the only way that he could show, because if he wants to burn humanity down and show that we're all just a bunch of baboons, it's not going to do him any good unless he points it out to everyone that he knew it all along, right? Because like one thing you're not going to do if you're a good fundamentalist doomsday Christian, when the world's ending and the beast is swooping down and whatever the I really need to learn this stuff better. When the 666s and everything come swooping down, you're not going to just be there all humble and just like, I mean, that's when you're going to hear some serious "I told you so" action, right? So we got to do the "I told you so." Is anyone here capable of not saying "I told you so" when you were right and nobody was listening to you? I'm not even. And it's so hard. I mean, I'm sitting there biting my lip and it's just not worth it. I'm just like, actually. Okay. So that's enough of Iago for now. I'm sure he'll rear his head again. So do we like Iago a little bit? He's got spunk, right? Who would you rather have at a party, Othello or Iago?
Iago might make you kill your wife.
Yeah, but you know what? Like the thing is, if you're not his boss, and I wouldn't be his boss, like I would not want him as my TA.
Well, neither was Cassio, right? Or was
Yeah, Cassie was his boss.
oh, he was?
Yeah.
He was higher up than
Rodrigo and Cassio.
Well, Rodrigo's paying him, so Rodrigo's his boss, and Cassio's the lieutenant, and he's just the ancient.
Well, Desdemona died because of him, and she wasn't his boss.
Yeah, but Desdemona, you know, I mean, you hate to say she had it coming. Oh, Daniel. That mic was messed up. I think the mic heard me say that Desdemona had it coming. No, it's a tragedy. Everybody gets what they want. So let's do Othello.
All right.
The old black ram. Goats and monkeys. I did I was locked out of Professor White's office, whose office I usually use, and so I was throwing rocks up at the window. An old black ram's cupping your white ewe. I thought it was funny. I got some looks. So let's Othello's conscious desire. We'll just do one of this fielding all comers here, because I don't know what's a conscious desire of Othello. Yeah.
Dignity and honor.
Dignity, honor. And I'm gonna put because you had that look on your face. Dignity, honor.
Desdemona.
Desdemona. What about Desdemona?
Be happy with her.
Happy with Desdemona. Okay. Desdemona, comma, happy with. All right.
Does he want to be accepted? 'Cause he's like a
Wants to be accepted. Assimilated. One of the great ass words. Anything else? All right, let's do some unconsciouses. You know what? After doing this exercise this time, I'm starting to really not be able to tell the difference between conscious and unconscious desire.
Is that good or bad?
I don't know. I mean, what's the conscious unconscious thing? You know, like I don't know if that's really the way to think about it.
He wants to be Cassio.
Wants to be Cassio? Okay. to be a cuckold.
Iago's wife.
Iago's wife. Does he want to be Iago's cuckold?
I thought that meant that he wanted to be Iago's wife.
What?
When she said that, instead of wanting Iago's wife, I thought it meant that he wanted to be Iago's wife. Or is that what was meant?
Yeah.
Wait, why?
Yeah.
He wants to forget.
Forget. Okay. Anything else? Conscious or unconscious? Okay. So his relationship with knowledge, let's say at the beginning. Let's say rational, pre-goats and monkeys eat Othello.
Well, hasn't he always just received it from other people? Like he's in charge, so people tell him what he needs to know to make
Okay.
decisions. Yeah.
So I'll put mediated from others. Any other fields?
Maybe what he sees, he likes ocular proof.
Ocular proof.
Doesn't he know everything at the beginning though? Cause like
Yeah.
he knows about Desdemona and all that.
Knows everything.
What we talking once about imposing your desire on reality, sort of.
So magical thinking, which means a lot of things, but I'll put.
He wants to think that he's justified in killing Desdemona.
But not at the beginning.
No, right.
Okay. All right, and we won't worry about the problems yet because we've got too much going on. Well, we already know what the problem is, right? It's always the problem.
Yeah.
Incompatible desires. And the solution to all things. Okay. So, as we can see from up here, the relationship with knowledge is what I want to start with because it's really complicated with Othello. So the first question is, what's the primary object of his knowledge that he wants to know about in this play? Desdemona. Okay, good. And not only just Desdemona, like he doesn't need to know what her hair color.
Her sex life.
Hmm?
Her sex life.
Yeah. So I'll say her desire, her fidelity, desire, something like that. And then, what are the stakes of this knowledge? Let's look at some examples. Page 25, he says, "My life upon her faith." This is after the father's curse. So that says a lot. Then on page 60, "Perdition catch my soul, but I do love thee. And when I love thee not, chaos is come again." So the whole stability of the Ordo Alceba is a function of her chastity and making sure that her appetite's going in the right direction, right? And then on page 70, we'll get back to this, but this was the great, "I'd been happy if the general camp had tasted her sweet body." That's a weird thing to, yeah, his occupation, right? He says, "Farewell to tranquil mind, farewell content, farewell plumed troops." Plumaged troops. It's a plumed troop. I don't know how these people are so articulate when they're mad. I would never have thought to say plumed. big wars, neighing steed, shrill trump, pump. Yeah, so his occupation. So, yeah, okay. So everything, right? So this is all dependent on, is that, I mean, what is that? Is he just completely delusional? Like, do we think really that like if like everybody found out that he was a cuckold, that he would really lose his job, and there would be no more wars for him to go fight in? I don't think so. I think he's blowing things a little bit out of proportion. So, and then this is a really important line on 66. I think that it's been on a quiz. Oh, curse of marriage, that we call these delicate creatures ours and not their appetite. I'd rather be a toad and live in the vapor of a dungeon. Okay. Yeah. So actually, let's go ahead and read this. Starting at can I get an Othello starting at 258 or 257 or whatever that is? This fellows of exceeding honesty. Hey.
This fellows of exceeding honesty and knows all qualities with a learned spirit of human dealings. If I do prove her haggard, though that her jesses were my dear heartstrings, I'd whistle her off and let her down the wind to brave fortune. Haply for I'm black and have not those soft parts. Conversation the chambers had, or Brian declined it with a veil of years. Yet that's not much. She's gone. I am abused, and my relief must be to loathe her. O cursed marriage, that we can call these delicate creatures ours, and not their appetites. I had rather be a toad and live upon the vapor of a dungeon, than keep a corner in the thing I love, for others' use. Yet 'tis the plague to great ones, prerogative are the tis destiny unshunnable, like death. Even then, this fourth plague faded to us, only you quicken, look where she comes. If she be false, heaven mocked itself. I'll not believe.
Thank you. So a few important things here. So the first is so we have another one of these great Duncan moments, right? The this fellow's of exceeding honesty and knows all qualities with a learned spirit of human dealings. Except for it's not quite, because that's just right? I mean, say what you want to about Iago, but he is, in his way, of exceeding honesty, like honest to the point where he can tell the truth and still lie. Knows all quality, learned spirit of human dealings. I think that's safe to say, right? I mean, he's not often wrong. But he's sticking Iago into his relationship with knowledge, and he's moving from ocular proof to it's being mediated by Iago. And in this in French psychoanalysis, they call this the subject supposed to know, because when some people go to a therapist, they construct this fantasy scenario where the therapist knows how to solve their problems, and it's just a matter of trying to get the therapist to tell them. And that's just so they just assume that somebody out there has it all put together, and they just need to extract the knowledge from them. Also, hysterics do this. I've dated some hysterics that thought that I knew everything and got really upset when they found out that I didn't. Do they still say hysterics? No? Nuts. It's too bad, because it's a good thing. So we know this is never a good idea. Then he starts making excuses, right? So he's old, he's black, he doesn't have those soft parts that chambers have. And then he jumps to she's gone. I am abused, and my relief must be to loathe her. Why does he jump the gun like that? Why jump to she's gone? And this worst case scenario thinking. Safety net?
He can't handle not being certain.
Okay. So it's the colostomy principle, right? It's like I'm losing my colon, but at least I know I'm losing my colon. Do you remember the colostomy principle? That is going to be on the final, I promise. Yeah, so this is to manufacture negative certainty. And then sure enough, on 271 plus, he tries to make this his little fantasy into a proper high tragedy, right? That it's a plague to great ones, prerogative are they less than the base, 'tis destiny unshunnable like death. So cuckoldry is the destiny of great ones, right? Of great tragic heroes. There's got to be like something wrong, so he tries to write this story of him in this high tragedy, and that's not. I mean, this is a tragedy, right? But it's not that kind of tragedy, right? So, and then we remember from learning about comedy versus tragedy, right? Which is the inevitable? Where does inevitable stuff happen? Is it in comedy? Is it in tragedy? Yeah, because nothing's inevitable in comedy, right? It's just chance and miracles and pies in the face, or miraculous pies in the face. And then so he works himself up, and then Desdemona walks in, and then what happens? It's right there. Yeah, the whole fantasy just pops, and no, it's okay. So he can't. Can't do stuff. So what does he want from his knowledge? Like, what's he trying to learn? What does he want to know about Desdemona? I think we already said it.
Her desires?
Yeah. Okay. So, and then what would certainty look like? How do you know that? How do you know that about someone? We'll get to that later. So let's relate this to his conscious desire. Do you remember when we see Othello completely happy? Yeah, let's go. It's on page 36, as you said, comes back from the ship. We remember this. Can I get an Othello from 181 on?
It gives me wonder, great is my content to see you here before me. O my soul's joy, if after every tempest come such calms, may the wind blow till they awaken death. And let the laboring bark climb hills of seas, Olympus high, and duck again as low as hell's from heaven. If it were now to die, 'twere now to be most happy, for I fear my soul hath her content so absolute that not another comfort like to this succeeds an unknown fate.
Thank you. So I'm going to put content. Oh, this doesn't work. I'm gonna do it. Oh, I guess I still have blue. So conscious desire is content, death. What's content? Why is it like that?
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis, right? Yeah, and then so homeostasis, floored. I mean, which has a more stable homeostatic state? Elizabeth or a rock?
Rock.
Rock. So the idea is, and this is one of Freud's death drives that he always gets made fun of, that because the goal of homeostasis is basically to be a rock. So you want to be, like less than alive, so you don't have to deal with possible disruptions. It makes sense, though, right? I mean, we see it right here. He wants to be content, and then just slash your own throat, then die happy. Makes sense to me, right? Oh, we have that. I don't know if you're aware of this, but like you can have like a really crappy bus ride, and then something great happens right at the end of the bus ride, and then what's your memory? Yeah. So like so we all think this, right? So if somebody like lives 30 years in misery and then has 5 great years and then they die, we're happy for them, right? But the opposite, if they've got 30 great years and then 5 crappy ones and they die, yeah, that's bad, right? We're a rational bunch. But so certainty. or content, not certainty. So colostomy principle again, content, happy, the only thing left is to die, and Othello is saying is that he is completely satisfied, right? It's like, this is it, I'm satisfied. Which is funny, because, and if it was a comedy, it'd end right here, right? So Shakespeare's comedies, you always know that something like Othello is going to happen in Shakespeare's comedies, but the curtain drops before, well, they didn't have curtains, but the proverbial curtain drops before everything goes to putt, or poo, as I put it here. And then Iago has an aside down there that says that he's going to ruin everything. His little devious asides, oh, that you are well tuned now. But before that, how does Desdemona respond to Othello's declaration of complete satisfaction? Can someone read Desdemona's reply?
The heavens forbid, but that our loves and comforts should increase, even as our days do grow.
Okay, thank you. So we know that Othello's satisfied. Is Desdemona?
No.
Uh-oh. So we picture the bedroom scene analog. Othello, that was absolutely, fantastically, incredibly perfect. How was it for you? Desdemona, we can do better next time. Keep trying. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So the problem with content, as recognized by Othello, is then there's nowhere to go but down. And we can count on ourselves to screw it up. Thank you, dopamine. Even worse, remember, because dopamine, what does dopamine do? Aaron?
Makes you happy, right?
Makes you happy, but it also how does it work with homeostasis? Yeah, it compromises. It makes you go and seek novel new things. It gives you joy in screwing up your own homeostasis. This is why stuff is hard. I know, that's why, because I know right now everyone's just thinking, man, I just wish I could die right now, because this is so much joy in this class. but yeah, that's why we want to die. But the problem, I mean, this is a famous problem with love, right, is that it involves two people, and it's always the other person's fault when it doesn't go right. So content involving another person, especially when that person is not really satisfied, can and they don't make a big deal of her being unsatisfied here, right? So this is just probably one of those little hints. But so I'm gonna go back to that original question. So the only way, so Othello's got this problem, is that the only way for him to maintain his content is to be certain of Desdemona's satisfaction. So is it possible? I mean, can he know for sure, for certain, that she is satisfied? No. Well, he can ask.
Goes back to his relationship with knowledge. He relies on it from others.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, but you have to, right? With if somebody else is satisfied or not. I mean, I know. Many people like to think that they can tell, but I think that if you think you're one of those people, you might want to seriously consider that stance, because you might look like an idiot later. So why don't you just ask her, Desdemona, are you satisfied, man? Or what's the problem with that? Even if she says yes. Yeah, she can lie, and we know that she lies. Is proof of sexual satisfaction possible? Especially if you're dealing with a female? Is there any proof? Is there like a light bulb? Ding, 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 ding. You did it, buddy. All right. No. Wow, did he say that? I'm sick, man. I'm all hopped up on something or other. Oh, what the hell. So this has been a great mystery of the ages. I'm trying to figure out what book it was. I think it was like Doris Lessing or something. She's talking about being an undergrad at college. You know, like this was in the 30s or 20s or something. And this great eminent biologist was going on this big tour, this little geeky guy. was lecturing on the women's college circuit, and the title and the topic of his lecture was the myth of female orgasm, which he based on his some work he did with swans. And so she's just sitting there talking, and she's like looking at her friend, and they're both like looking down, looking at this lecture, looking at each other, and having this little guy explain to them that female orgasm's a myth. But it's sort of a long famous problem, and you know what? No, let's finish the lecture for a change. Oh, I can't help it. So of course, you know, like the female orgasm is like a big topic in neuroscience and all this stuff, right? Because it's so you know, like there's really no, like to this day, there's no reliable indicator. You know, like sometimes there's like bodily responses, sometimes not. And then they think that they hook up the brain scanner, right? So they finally have it, right? Everything lights up in the brain. Well, except for, or everything shuts down, or no, or so. It's still, I mean, so as far as positive science, you know, male knowledge goes, we still have no proof. There's no way to tell, you know. So it's just it's a funny thing, but what can you do? So the problem continues. There's no little beep 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 light yet, and then so here we have to recall the father's curse as we get back to the lecture, and the fact that Desdemona does dissemble. Do you remember a couple of examples of when she lies? To her father. And that's kind of big, right? I mean, she was totally a fake person to her father. Is that cool? But on the other hand, he's sort of that guy. I don't know. I'll forgive her. And then with Iago and Amelia when she's all flirty, and she says, "I'm not really flirty," she assures us. And then she's all flirty. It seemed like she was pretty genuinely flirty. I don't know. Can flirty?
When she lost the handkerchief.
Yeah. Another good example. Yeah, she's just a pathological liar. Like when does Iago lie? Never. When does Desdemona lie? Always. So anyway, so we have an old defunct, as he calls himself on page 24, guy. We have an unsatisfied super hot girl that's a known liar. I mean, do we even need Iago at this point? So and then so we know that he can't be content without certainty, and we know that certainty is impossible. Well, but certainty is not impossible. I mean, positive certainty is impossible, but I mean you can find out the other thing, right? Like so in this case, getting away from the question of physiological responses. I guess that's the best way we can put it. Well, I mean, I guess he could kill her and then know that she's not cheating on him. But the real problem is trying to figure out how to be certain. So let's go to page 70. Really? Do we have a new hypothesis? All right. Yeah, so the good, this will be a fun one to read. The top, I'd been happy if the general can't. Right.
Okay. Just the whole thing.
Please.
I'd been happy if the general camp, pioneers and all, had tasted her sweet body, so I had nothing known. Oh now, forever farewell the tranquil mind, farewell content, farewell the plumed troops, and the big wars that make ambition virtue. Oh, farewell. Farewell the neighing steed and the shrill trump, the spirit-stirring drum, the ear-piercing fife, the royal banner and the quality, and all quality, pride, pomp, and circumstance of glorious war. And oh, you mortal engines, whose rude throats the mortal Job's dread clamors counterfeit, farewell. Othello's occupation's gone.
Thank you. So now it doesn't sound like he wants certainty, right? He wants that Rodrigo non-knowledge, right? And then if we go a page earlier, and sure enough, we see him working toward that. We have on 332, 333. I swear 'tis better to be much amused than but to know a little. So what does that statement say? It's kind of a big thing. I'd rather the whole world fall apart than, yeah.
Maybe it's like Iago comforting him, reminds me of Iago comforting him about being cuckolded by saying, at least you know that the people that don't know how worse off they are. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
To be much abused than to know.
Well, he says a lot. Iago says a lot of things. He says that, and then he says, it's better to not know. It's better to know. Better, I don't know. But yeah, I'm feeling you. And then he continues on about his blissful ignorance. What sense had I ever stolen hours of lust? I saw it not, thought it not, harm not me. I slept the next night well, fed well, was free and merry. I found not Cassio's lips on her lips, that he that is robbed, not wanting, but is stolen, let him not know it, and he's not robbed at all. So this is magical thinking relationship with knowledge now, right? Sort of, not really. We'll see it way worse when we get to Winter's Tale with Leontes. But so the idea is that you weren't robbed, you weren't ontologically robbed if you don't know it, right? So if I stole your wallet and you never found out, were you really robbed? The tree falls in the thing or whatever. Yeah. The tree falls in your wallet. Does it happen? So and then so the passage that we read was he's fantasizing about his wife sleeping with everyone behind his back, and then that gets the O machine fired up, right? And look, there's a lot of O's in that one. What do we remember about O's? Yeah, so it's a signal of aroused desire or a change in desire. So he's really getting cooking thinking about this. Pervert. So, and then 356 plus to Iago. Somebody read, starting with villain and ending with waked wrath. Go ahead.
Villain, be sure thou prove my love whore. Be sure of it. Give me the ocular proof. Or by the word of my eternal soul, thou hadst been better, have been born dog, than answer my walk right.
Thank you. Yeah, this is great. He keeps wanting to be a toad or a dog and stuff. That's weird. But this too is odd, because here he commands Iago, on peril of his life, to prove his love a whore. This isn't a request. It's not even a threat. It's a demand. It's just it's like prove it or die. So it demands ocular proof. So this is the problem with certainty regarding other people's satisfaction and fidelity, is that you can only be certain that they are not. So he needs, in order for him to have certainty, he needs to actually see Desdemona having sex with someone else. That's the only way that he can have any certainty in this universe regarding this, right? So he's to the point now where he'll take certainty over anything. Colostomy principle extraordinaire. So with this little twist, his conscious or unconscious desire is that Desdemona is and can be proven to be a whore. This is starting to remind me of that unmentionable lecture. Right, so let's stop it now so I can get your papers back to you. All right, let's do this. Let's try and get class over with so I can go home.
Just take a quiz and end.
Yeah.
Huh?
You could just take the quiz and end it. Yeah. Call it good.
Yeah.
Watch a movie.
Let's watch Dr. Strangelove.
You guys have a horrible attitude.
Well, it sounds like you wanted to leave.
I pride myself out of bed.
We're looking out for your best interest.
I appreciate it. Oh, which reminds me, does anyone here have a secret fascination with Jewish mysticism?
Always.
I'm gonna say no.
Are you into mysticism? No. Because it's not always the same thing as it turned out. Oh, well, if we had a lot of people that were into Jewish mysticism, I was going to cancel class next week. So you could go to a talk. But if you're not into it, then the talk will be, I mean, I know it's hard to believe that maybe something could be more boring than me, but.
What's the talk? Where is it?
It's in the art museum.
I wanna go, but maybe we should make a field trip.
Oh, I have to go. We're gonna have a substitute.
Why do you?
So class
like
could
all
be
the same
optional for those who go to the mysticism thing?
Yeah, if you want to go to the mysticism thing, you can miss out on the substitute. But I hear she's a lot of fun.
Who is it?
I don't know.
Oh.
So will we have a quiz next class then? Even with the sub?
Yeah, I'm leaning toward having just that because I don't want because the thing is we have to get a quiz on the reading for it, and it seems like doubling up on a quiz would suck. Last time we doubled up on a quiz, we didn't do so well. So since she doesn't know who you are, you could probably just take the quiz and leave. I'm not going to test her on anything that she teaches. I'm setting her up for a. But it's good. So you don't know who I am. All right. Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Number 122. What is Desdemona preparing her wedding sheets for? Is it like because she thinks she's gonna have sex? Is it because she thinks she's like fearing danger? She knows she's gonna die in them.
What do you think?
I think it could be all of the above. Well, probably not the thinking she's gonna have sex thing. I think it's
Yeah.
either like she fears danger and like knows something bad's gonna happen, or like she knows she's gonna die.
Yeah, I think that that's my feelings about it. Yes, ma'am.
Why is the horned man a monster animals?
Anyone? Why is the horned man a monster and a beast? Abe?
Because he's motivated by fury. It's like his drive is all kind of anger.
Yes, but what's a horned man?
Cuckold.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm sure we all knew that. Did anybody not know what a cuckold was before this class? Does anyone still not know? All right, good. We learned something. Yeah.
Number 7, what's his evidence that she's a subtle whore?
Yeah. How does so this is a weird scene, and hopefully we'll get to it a little bit today. So the scene is that Amelia is vouching for Desdemona, and then Othello's like, oh no, that can't be. And then she leaves, and then he says, well, she's a subtle whore. I've seen her pray, and that's his evidence. That's his evidence to not trust her judgment. So why does her praying make her a subtle whore?
She doesn't pray for forgiveness for what she's done.
Yeah, but how does he know what she's done?
He's assuming. He's assuming.
Or is
That's
he?
why she's-
Because remember what Iago, remember Iago's one of his apparently self-deceiving motivations for hating Othello was that Othello slept with his wife. Does that mean that Othello did sleep with her? If he knows that she's a subtle whore and could see her pray and knew she was a hypocrite? I don't know. Maybe. So the answer to the question is I don't know. Yeah.
Is that why he said that OOO line? Because didn't they point out something about Amelia sleeping with Othello?
Yeah, so he does the OOO. Does anyone remember when he does the OOO?
It's like when Amelia's kind of like chewing out Iago. for being
Yeah,
bad.
it's like right when the truth's about to come out. It's a weird play. Yes, sir.
Desdemona swears that her will and her eyes, ears, or senses did not betray Othello. Is that everything?
Anyone want to do something with that? I need to put my glasses on. I'm an optimist. I just have a whole sea full of supermodels in bikinis. There we go. Anyone want to field that one?
What was the question again?
Desdemona swears that her will and her eyes, ears, or senses did not betray Othello. Is that everything?
Not her heart.
Yeah, I guess that's not everything. So she doesn't say her heart. She doesn't say other things.
What, like her genitals?
She does not specify her genitals. I don't know. We have a whole class on Desdemona. We'll get to the bottom of her. She's an interesting thing. Yes.
Why shouldn't Desdemona feel fear? Why does she?
Yeah, this is according to her. Yeah.
Was it because she shouldn't feel fear because she was innocent, she didn't do anything wrong, but he had like a look in his face that made her think she was gonna die?
Yeah. So I remember Lady Macduff was in a similar situation. In fact, that's probably Lady Macduff was probably alluding to. Yes, ma'am.
What two things are the Willow song associated with? I put death and adultery.
Yes. Do I see a hand in the back? Yeah.
What, an adultery?
Death. Yeah.
Why does Desdemona refuse to name Othello?
Just like she still loves him.
That'll work. Anyone want to? I'm sure this will come up in class. I'll accept because she still loves him. I won't accept because she's afraid he'll kill her. Well, that's weird. That's normally when you strangle someone, they don't mysteriously awaken a few minutes afterwards for some final words, and then. I mean, I don't know personally. Uh-oh. All right. In general, because I'm going to forget, and I didn't do the same kind of task, but in general, we're not doing a real super duper good job on the situation part of the passage identifications. And that's the one where you should, nobody should ever get that wrong, because all you need to do is put something plausible and I'll give you points for it. So even if you have no idea who the speaker is or the situation, make it make sense. Then I know that you read the play, and then I can give you that point. And it makes me feel better. If nothing else, we're getting an uncanny sense of what reading questions are going to be on the exam or the quizzes. You notice that?
What?
That we're doing a really good job of guessing the questions that are going to be on the exam. Yeah. Just really? What am I posting the quizzes instead of the reading questions? That would help. There we go. Okay, so the nobody, I myself. What did Brabantio die from? Iago's last words.
Othello never speak a word.
Alright. What is a horned man? Why is he a monster? What does Othello suggest he will do with Desdemona after he kills her?
Make love to her?
Yeah. Or just love her. I'll kill you, then I'll kill her, then I'll love her. I don't know. I thought it was weird. I guess you kids are zanier than I am. According to Amelia, why do women, quote, fail? Yeah, because they're bad husbands. All right. Why does Othello think Amelia is a subtle whore?
Because she prays like an honest
And
woman.
what is the significance of the Willow song? Marvelous. All right. So I did not finish on Iago, so we've got to go back to this old chestnut. So we got So as we were arguing with the, I'll always call it the hypothesis from yesterday, or not yesterday, whatever that day was. And then so this was sort of a problem. I don't know which is conscious and which is unconscious, but one of them is wants to inflame / exploit human irrationality and wants to believe humans are capable of subduing passions with reason. And his relationship with knowledge was makes it up. And the problem, as with everybody, incompatible desires, bad handwriting. Okay.